I discovered a vampire in the library basement. I've always been an avid reader. The kind who would spend hours in the library, lost in the world of books. My local library, a centuries-old building, was my sanctuary. It was a place where I felt at peace, surrounded by the scent of old books and the soft hum of the air conditioning. But that all changed one fateful evening. I was in the library, as usual, engrossed in a novel about ancient civilizations. As the evening wore on, I realized I was the last patron left. The librarian, Mrs. Henderson, informed me that they were closing soon, but I could stay a bit longer if I wanted. Gratefully, I nodded and continued reading. After a while, I needed to stretch my legs and decided to explore the basement. I'd heard rumors about it being haunted, but I never believed in such things. The basement was off-limits to the public, but my curiosity got the better of me. I sneaked down the old wooden staircase, the creaking of the steps echoing in the silence. The basement was dimly lit, with rows of old manuscripts and books covered in dust. As I walked further in, I stumbled upon a locked door with an ornate handle. The door seemed out of place, newer than the rest of the basement. My curiosity piqued, I tried the handle, and to my surprise, it turned. Inside was a small room, the walls lined with old portraits and a large ornate mirror in the center. But what caught my attention was a figure in the corner, a man with pale skin and sharp features, dressed in clothes from a bygone era. His eyes, a deep shade of red, locked onto mine. Frozen in fear, I watched as he slowly approached me. "Who are you?" I managed to whisper. He smiled, revealing a set of sharp fangs. "I am Lord Alistair, and you, my dear, have awakened me from my slumber." I backed away, realizing the gravity of my mistake. "You're a vampire?" He nodded. "Indeed. I've been trapped in this library for centuries, waiting for someone to release me." Panicking, I tried to run, but he was faster. He grabbed my wrist, his grip cold and unyielding. "You've set me free," he whispered, "and for that, I am grateful. But I am also very hungry." I closed my eyes, preparing for the worst. But then, a bright light filled the room. Mrs. Henderson stood at the doorway, holding a cross. "Back, creature of the night," she shouted. Lord Alistair hissed and released me, retreating to the shadows. Mrs. Henderson quickly pulled me out of the room and locked the door behind us. As we made our way upstairs, she explained that the library was built on the grounds of Lord Alistair's mansion. He had been a feared vampire lord in the 18th century before being trapped in the library basement by a group of hunters. The library staff had been guarding the secret ever since. I thanked Mrs. Henderson for saving me and promised never to venture into the basement again. But the events of that night haunted me. Every time I passed by the library, I could feel Lord Alistair's eyes on me, waiting for another chance to be set free. And then, one day, I noticed Mrs. Henderson was no longer at the library. The new librarian told me she had retired and moved away. But I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was amiss. A few weeks later, I received a letter with no return address. Inside was a note in elegant handwriting: "Thank you for setting me free. I have taken care of Mrs. Henderson. You're next." From that day on, I lived in constant fear, always looking over my shoulder, waiting for Lord Alistair to come for me. The consequence of my curiosity was a life of paranoia and dread, knowing that a centuries-old vampire was out there, hunting me,